Well, it looks like we're not going to be able to go live for some reason. I don't know what the holdup is, but I've been trying for the last 10-ish minutes to go live on Facebook, and it doesn't work. So we'll have recorded as opposed to live. So anyway, welcome to the late and not live edition of the Doc Stanley Show. I am Doc Stanley, aka Todd Wickstrom, aka the Chief Groove Enhancer, and here we are for episode 2. And what would life be without fun, exciting technological hiccups here and there? But the lesson is really powerful anyway, so I want to make sure to take some time to review everything with you. And if you guys have any questions, certainly we can review those afterwards in the chat, on Facebook, wherever it makes the most sense for you guys. So really wanted to spend, last week, episode 1, we talked about being able to understand, is your business healthy or toxic? And if you didn't get a chance to take the test and you would like to go through the quiz or the diagnostic tool, put a note below, or just go to grooveenhancers.com and give me your email address. Tell me what you're grateful for, and I'd be happy to send you a copy of the test so you can figure out how healthy or not your organization is. So I want to share my screen, and I want to review with you just a few of just highlights of really what I believe are the causes of a toxic work environment. So we're going to start. And I really want to make sure that you feel comfortable with all of this information and that we understand what to do about it, assuming that some of these conditions are evident at your workplace. So again, this is the Doc Stanley Show. I am here live, except for tonight, but try to be live every Thursday night at 7:59 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Tonight, we're going to talk about the root causes of a toxic workplace. But I always like to start with gratitude. So tonight, I will be grateful for the little things that I take them for granted until they don't work. So I'm grateful for Facebook Live and Zoom when they work in conjunction with each other. So before we can get into some of the details around a healthy, a toxic, or otherwise ill or healthy work environment, I wanted to go through what I understand about business, and I believe that there's 7 foundations of a healthy business. And I also believe that there's 7 responsibilities that we have as leaders or as founders of those healthy businesses. So the 7 foundations, the way I understand business, and this has been over years and years pulling this together, is that the very first and most important thing is the purpose of the business. So why are we in business? And I'll go through more and more of these details. In fact, I have a 12-week course that's just about these 7 foundations. But the purpose is our why. Why do we exist? If we went out of business tomorrow, who would care? There's the passion, also known as the, I like to talk about the fertility of the business. Is the business fertile, right? Is it reproducing? Are people growing within the business? Or is the business suffering from impotence and nobody is growing within the business? Then there's the personality. You may think of it as the brand, sort of the look and the feel. There's the heart. What is the heart of the business? Is it really trying to make a difference in the world, or is it simply in business for the vulgar accumulation of wealth for a handful of shareholders? Then there's the voice. How do we communicate within the business with each other? There's obviously the voice that we use as we're talking to people outside of the business, but really all around communication. The vision, where are we going? Do people know? Look, just obviously it's not streaming. Anyway, we'll have to figure out what happened later. Where are we going? Where do we want the business to be in the future? And then there's the values, and we're going to talk more about the values in this lesson tonight. So those are the 7 foundations. The purpose is the first and most important. The values then bookends it on the other end. And the purpose is the why. I look at the vision as the where, and the values as the how. So going on from there, I believe there's 7 foundations or 7 responsibilities that also are supporting those foundations. So the first and foremost is that if you are a business owner, if you're a business leader, that it's your responsibility to be a servant leader. Right? The bigger the organization gets, the more responsibility you have, the more people you have to serve. Then to be a team builder, really understanding the dynamics of being in the team building mode. Before I ever read any business books, the first number of years in business, I just studied coaches. From Lou Holtz to Pat Riley to Phil Jackson, you name it. I just studied all the coaches and was always fascinated by how you build a team. The cultural warrior, you'll hear me talk about this many, many, many times, right? That if you fail to define the culture that you want in your business, the same as at home, right? If you fail to define the culture that you want, it will be defined for you by the behavior that you tolerate. And then there's being a nature lover. And of course, I mean, I obviously mean being in wonder and awe of the natural world around us, but also really paying attention to natural rhythms. You know, winter is coming. You know, the little squirrels know they need to store up their nuts for the winter, right? We need to do the same thing, paying attention and really making sure that we are planning ahead, right? But that one of my favorite, I guess, Chinese sayings or thoughts is mind like water. And mind like water in this instance means, you know, when you throw a pebble into a still pond, it makes a little splash and it gets over it. When you throw a big pebble or a big boulder into the pond, it makes a huge splash, a huge ripple effect, and it gets over it. But you never throw a big rock and it makes a little splash, or a little rock and it makes a big splash, right? So it's always doing what it needs to do. And there's just so much in the real world that we look at. So you think about Wall Street. Wall Street, to me, is the definition of neurosis, right? It's not natural at all. Then there's to be a master of change, knowing how to navigate through change, because everything changes. And we all know that we all respond differently if change happens to us or if we're a part of the change. Then there's to be a customer, or fill in the word client or patient if you want to, but to be a customer fanatic. Nobody's going to care more about the customer, the client, the patient than you are as a leader of the business. And then there's to be a waste watcher, and to watch, you know, are we living consistent with our values, but also really around cash flow. What are we doing to maintain the cash in the business? And what are we doing to make sure that we're operating as lean as we possibly can, right? Cutting out any waste that we don't need in the business. So I go into a lot more of those, obviously, in a lot more detail in terms of how do you become a servant leader, et cetera. But just wanted to build that as the framework as we get into then understanding these root causes of a toxic work environment. So is your company toxic? If you haven't taken the toxicity test, like I said, shoot me an email and I will get it to you. If you're thinking about making a change, or maybe even just checking out your current business, if you don't know Glassdoor, I strongly suggest checking out Glassdoor. In fact, I will share a brief, maybe if I can figure out how to do it on here. Well, you'll just have to trust me for now. I don't want to have to mess up this slideshow. Go to Glassdoor. If you go to glassdoor.com, you'll be able to see what's actually happening in many of these. But I believe, and it will give you an evaluation of exactly what's happening in your business. So glassdoor.com, it's interesting. You can look at Apple. You can look at I think there's 600,000 companies or firms that are in there, and it will basically tell you how healthy the organization is. And you can't go in there as a company and change the reviews. So part of what they really focus on is trust and making sure that you can trust them. And the way that they do that is to make sure that the companies can't go in and skew whatever the reviews are. So you can use that. Take the toxicity test on your own. If you're thinking about getting a new job, check out Glassdoor for sure. I believe, however, that the root cause of a toxic work environment, maybe this will seem self-evident, but Maybe not. That it's really a lack of servant leaders, right? So if you look at, let's say the servant leader is the number one responsibility of what I would call a groove enhancer. And then the core values are the seventh foundation, right? That really tell us what or how we are agreeing to function. So when you think of a servant leader, this is one of my favorite definitions from Lao Tzu, who says that a leader is best when people barely know that he exists. Not so good when people obey and acclaim him. Worse when they despise him. Fail to honor people and they will fail to honor you. Say that's the number one reason that people leave a job isn't compensation, but it's because they don't feel appreciated. But if a good leader who talks little when his work is done, his aim fulfilled, they will all say, we did it ourselves. So to me, that's a great model, right? That a good leader should be, somebody said one time, maybe it was John Woodman, I want to be the type of leader that's out in front of everybody carrying the banner, not behind everybody cracking the whip. So if you're wondering if your boss is toxic or not, here's what I've sort of found. There maybe is more, but these are what I see as sort of the top 10 signs that your boss is toxic. Toxic managers are physically and mentally absent. They take no responsibility for poor decisions. They avoid conflict at all costs. They don't communicate. They don't plan, right? Flying by the seat of their pants. They only focus on short-term optics, right? They want to make sure that they look good to the boss, to the higher ups, to corporate. They adopt black and white thinking, right? It's my way or the highway. Either get on the bus or get off the bus, right? They don't really have the ability to even have conversations, right? They show favoritism. They ignore turnover, right? Which leads to bad morale. And they're constantly living in denial about everything around them, but in this case, about their toxicity. Which is why unfortunately, every time I share this term with people, post-traumatic boss disorder, people laugh in the beginning, and it is, I suppose, meant to be sort of tongue-in-cheek, but it isn't at the same time, right? That it is huge, and I've shared this before, but the fact that Mayo Clinic came out a while ago and said that the person that you report to directly has a greater impact on your personal health, on your physical health, than does your primary care physician or your family doctor. So all of this course, the Doc Stanley show, the Groove Enhancers, Leadership Academy, the courses that I teach are all designed to help eliminate and prevent post-traumatic boss disorder by teaching people how to lead with love and to build better teams. So values, the values we're going to get into, right? So we talked about being a servant leader, talked about values, and I believe that the values really are, it's our moral compass. It's our rules of engagement. Like I said, it's how we do business. Bookended with our purpose, right? So if we have a strong why and we have a strong how, we can almost overcome anything else in between, right? But this is our connection to the higher power or our highest good, right? These are not designed to be strategic differentiators, right? These are the types of things that we believe in so deeply that we'd close the doors. We'd actually go out of business before we would willingly violate our values. So those values, to me, it's not something that you just go through to do to get your business plan done or hang on the wall. But when the values are alive and they're healthy in the business, this is what I say, that the signs that they are alive and healthy, this first one sounds a little silly, but it's true that they're actually alive in your business. It means people on the team know them, that they're being used constantly, whether it's for performance reviews, whether it's recognition for great performance, whether it's for the name of the newsletter, whatever it may be, but they are really alive in the organization. When that happens, then the team has confidence in the leadership and the rest of the team, right? We have a clear understanding of right and wrong. We trust each other and behave accordingly. We have a sense of security, sense of safety, and this feeling of being appreciated and fully utilized. Right? Just that piece alone goes a long, long way to keeping together a great team. Other signs that maybe things aren't so good in your business is that there's this sense of anxiety, right? This fear of the unknown, that there's no sense of job security or self-worth, that there's a complete lack of trust in the leadership. We're hypersensitive to criticism, right? We have a lack of meaning and no fulfillment from work. There's feelings of apathy, right? A total lack of productivity, where people saying that's the way it's always been done. In other words, we don't really care. This is just how we do it. And, you know, even though we know it's wrong, this is how we've always done it. Or I tried to tell somebody, I've tried to tell people 5 times, 20 times, 100 times, but nobody listens, right? Those are all indications and symptoms of a business, of an organization that doesn't have values or that aren't alive and active, right? More danger signs, right? When they're not outlined or articulated, right? That nobody knows what they are, or even worse, if they are outlined or articulated, that they're posted, like I said, maybe on a wall in a waiting room, but they're not embraced. You know, when we live hypocritically with our values, it makes it very difficult to maintain any respect from the team, right? The team can't recite them. So think about your current situation that you're in, whether you're self-employed or you work for a small company or you work for a big company. Do you know what the values are of the company? Do they live consistent within those? Are the systems that they have aligned with those values in mind? Are the leaders in the business living consistent with those values, right? When this is happening, that leaders are, when they're not living consistent with those, right? And they've got this toxicity in them, a lot of times they will commiserate with the team, right? That again, it's us against them. And feedback from the leadership is inconsistent and infrequent. So if any of these are evident where you're at, you definitely are in a toxic work environment. I really have a vision, right? This vision to create this virtuous 500. That is, you know, it is my heart and passion to have 500 connected businesses around the world that are all agreeing to lead with love, right? That are all agreeing to build amazing team experiences, that they value everybody that comes to work, right? The ability that we have to create thriving environments, that people are better because of going to work every day and not treated as mules, right? Not looked at as expendable or as an expense on an income statement or a P&L, right? It's not a line item on a budget. These are living human beings. So this vision of building 500 of these businesses around the world, that are all connected and linked and holding each other accountable, right? To provide tools, to provide support, to provide the accountability for each other, right? And so that we can learn from each other. You know, what's working in Japan, what's working in Argentina, what's working in Brazil, what's working in Green Bay, you know, what's working in the San Francisco Bay Area, what's working in Mexico or Ecuador, wherever it happens to be. So this is my vision, that within 20 years, that the Virtuous 500 would have as big of a reputation for making a difference in the world as the Fortune 500 has for maybe doing the opposite. So I also want to offer this. I've got a great course that I've put together. It is all about this idea of leading with love and learning about how to hire, how to train, how to get your team to grow, right? And how to build a team of business owners. And whether you're an employee in a big company or whether you are thinking about being in business on your own, I guarantee you this book will help, or this course will save you lots and lots of money. I would say it's at least 6, if not 7 figures worth of education that has gone into this course. And it's normally $799, sells out every time, but in honor of getting this mission out there, wanted to put together these commemorative collector's item t-shirts for the Doc Stanley Show, episode 1, which was last week, right? 29 August 2019. From the Groove Enhancers TV network. So $99 for that really cool t-shirt. And then you get the Leading with Love course for free. This offer will go through September 8th at midnight. After that, that deal will go away. Even if you don't think you're ready for it now, $99 would be one of the best investments that you've ever made. I guarantee you it will save you many, many, many multiples of that in the future. So once in a lifetime, only $99, save $700 on the Leading with Love course. I would love to have you guys in class. So you can go to groovesenhancers.com/Doc Stanley special offer. I'll put the link in the comments and in the chats and in the Facebook pages as well. But it is important to me that we grow better leaders. You know, too many of us are dying for a paycheck, and it all starts with the boss. We leave our jobs because of our boss, not because of the company, right? It's the person that we report directly to. So I want to help us create better leaders. I want to see this Virtuous 500 become a reality, building a mastermind for those businesses in the beginning that are deeply committed to operating differently. And I would love to have you not only be in the class, but wearing the baseball jersey around town and showing off your support and your love of being a groove enhancer and leading with love. So as I will do every week, I want to leave you with this blessing so we have enough time to jump over and get to, hopefully David Bailiff isn't having the same issues I had. But your blessing is, may God bless you with a restless discomfort about easy answers, half-truths, and superficial relationships, so that you may seek truth boldly and love deep within your heart. May God bless you with holy anger at injustice, oppression, and exploitation of people, so that you may tirelessly work for justice, freedom, and peace among all people. And may God bless you with a gift of tears to shed for those who suffer from pain, rejection, starvation, or loss of all that they cherish, so that you may reach out your hand to comfort them and transform their pain into joy. And may God bless you with enough foolishness to believe that you really can make a difference in this world, so that you are able, with God's grace, to do what others claim cannot be done. Thank you so much for being here. Again, I am Todd Wickstrom, Doc Stanley, aka your Chief Groove Enhancer, and I look forward to seeing you in class, Leading with Love, and hopefully we'll be live again next week. In the meantime, enjoy this recorded lesson, and we'll see you guys soon.